So Dr. Zabrecky, as our academic director at the Marcus Institute and a leader in integrative medicine, it was great to have you speak at our 5th annual Integrative Nutrition Conference today. Could you tell us a little bit about your topic and what you spoke about?
Oh, of course. Something that's very close to my heart is homeostasis, the body's ability to repair itself, restore itself, and have normal bodily functions. And I think every integrative physician should look to that, look for how I can find what's preventing my patient from returning to health, and then try to stimulate it.
And for the average person out there, when you say homeostasis, how the body repairs itself, how does the body do that?
You know, the body's been made to recover. You can see when you get a cut, it causes some inflammation, and then it scars over, and then tissue heals underneath, and it goes away, and you never knew you had it. And that happens for virtually every disease in the body. So there's mechanisms that we've developed that not only keeps us from hurting too long, but it actually keeps us to survive.
In integrative medicine and integrative health approaches, what are some of the things that you think about to help people achieve homeostasis, to push them in that direction of homeostasis when they get stuck?
Yeah. Well, it depends upon the level of illness. Oftentimes you can make modifications to their diet. Sometimes you can just make modifications to their stress levels, meditation. But oftentimes as physicians, we see patients that are very stuck. They're very debilitated, and they're past the point, or the window's closed on just using a diet. So you have to be more aggressive. So you look at the other modalities, you see if you can give them nutrients, if they're extremely debilitated or deficient, using the nutrients IV, which would be more aggressive. And then ultimately, if the body is so debilitated that it needs a push in the right direction, utilizing botanicals, this all will not interfere with the body's recovery to heal. Medications certainly have their place, but not so much in chronic disease. When you use medications in chronic disease, you're managing it, you're not really treating it. And the point of homeostasis is to restore normalcy. So you get to the point where some medications can actually produce difficulty in redeveloping homeostasis.
Do you find that for patients with chronic problems who need to be on medications, that doing some of these other things, nutrients, botanicals, have a synergistic effect with the medications?
In some cases it is synergistic. They can use them both together, and it gives them a greater effect than if they did either one individually. Hopefully in a case that has the patient has the capacity to recover, the medication would be slowly reduced over time until it was eliminated. So
Dr. Zabrecky, you're both a DC, a doctor of chiropractic, and an MD, a medical doctor. Tell us about that journey.
Oh boy, that really set everything up. Going to chiropractic school first, it was all about innate, about the body's natural ability to take care of itself, and using the nervous system as a promoter for that by giving manipulation. And the concept that you could give a manipulation specifically to the cervical spine and have a systemic event that occurs in the body was just blew me away. Then I found out that we could also induce that by many other mechanisms. NET, meditation, manipulation certainly fits into that category, acupuncture. So there's a lot of ways to get to the same point. And I always like to choose the fastest way. That's how I am.
And so then you decided to go and get an MD.
Yeah. The MD was so I'd be placed on the same playing field. It's difficult as a chiropractor. It didn't matter how many publications I had because they weren't really going to be read by anybody in medicine. So I needed the MD to be able to be listened to in publications, and I've published many things since then. And diversified too. Not too many, mostly when you publish within a certain specific field. We're all across the board, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, neurodegenerative disorders. We've basically done research on every condition showing that there's a benefit to taking more conservative therapies.
If there was one thing that you would want people out there to know about an integrative medicine, integrative health approach, what would it be?
Certainly, as an educational moment to make them all understand the depth of how integrative medicine can improve their health. When you go to primary practitioners, it's basically all about disease care. There's very little, if any, health care that's provided. When you go to an integrative physician, he's got such a large armamentarium, or she has such a large armamentarium of what they're capable of doing with minimal to no side effect. It certainly has been a journey. When I was younger, I always wanted to be a physician from the time I was 10. And to get to DC was actually better for me because I could treat anything. A physician that's ear, nose, and throat, that's all he can see. So as a chiropractor, I basically could treat anybody with a spine. So it didn't matter what disease they had. I could help them, or I could work on them. But later on, I realized that the goal with the MD would be to work at an institution, be a professor, so that I could train other students in the same model. And then when that dream became possible, the dream that I never thought would be established is the opening of the first department of integrative medicine at a medical school. And when that happened, I was just overwhelmed, as I still am. Now we're discussing doing it at 2 or 3 or more other places. So it's just very, very exciting to be on the ground floor.
It was great to have a visionary partnership from somebody who really helped to make that happen, and somebody who you've really connected to in making that happen, Mr. Marcus.
Yes, Mr. Marcus was critical in many parts of this endeavor, but he saw it through. He asked me when we first met. I didn't really understand the potential depth of his funding, but he said, if you had no financial concerns, what would you want to do? And I said, open the first department of integrative medicine. And he said, how would you do it? And I told him I'd take $200 million, I'd buy a charter at a medical school. University of Ohio was up. And he said, nope, that's stupid. He says, we're going to just have you do publications upon publications, and we'll either connect you with the university or we'll do it self-standing, like Mayo Clinic. And my jaw dropped. I had no idea which way we were going to go. But after trying at Harvard and at Emory, certainly found a home here. Jefferson was a place where my wheels landed and developed a family of like-minded individuals throughout our group, and then ultimately pushed for the department. So I'm grateful for your efforts in that, which would have been impossible without you.
Well, it's been a terrific journey.
Yeah, it sure has.
Really.
And it's not over yet.
No, much more to come.
Yeah.
If you were in front of a group of young people right now, what would you tell them that you think the future of this is?
Well, there's deep concern when my children were being raised that I wouldn't necessarily put them into medicine. I thought that it was a position that didn't look very rosy. Things were kind of debilitated, and there was very little impact of what they were doing. Just kind of keeping the same thing going. So same number of heart disease, same number of cancer patients, just more money. So that has now all changed. The ability to become an integrated physician and to desire that at a young age is, it's very exciting. It's an amazing possibility for the young people to have their direction early on in life, get the sciences that they need, and the power that's behind that is substantial. So a young person can recognize that it's not like an attorney or anything in that field where it's very rote. This is a very dynamic field, and you get to use all your skills that you've developed or learned in order to create a new form of medicine. It's a very exciting time. Yeah, the groups of people that we try to educate in integrative medicine are diversified. Besides the young students, the medical students, we have physicians from the field that come in. And these physicians could be oncologists or cardiologists, gastrointestinal people, and the difficulty they have in using this is they're dipping their toe into a field that they don't understand. They haven't had the concepts of it, and they do recognize to give certain products for certain conditions, and they're using them the same as medications. So we'll use some curcumin rather than use an anti-inflammatory. And that's not integrative medicine. Integrative medicine is really understanding the patient and what needs to be done, whether it's a dietary modification or acupuncture. And we don't expect anybody, particularly a primary physician, to understand how to do acupuncture or NET, but we do want them to understand how to refer for those conditions when the patients require it. We've landed in the new world, and every opportunity that's come up now has allowed our expansion with our academic programs, our research programs, the clinical staff. Everything is just exponentially developing. And the next step is to develop another Marcus Institute. And after that gets developed, another one and another one. And what's going to happen is every medical school in the country will get to the point where we need this. This is not an alternative department. And I've seen them at major institutions where it was a soapbox and a nurse and a phone. And that's not an integrated facility. But when they see this develop, and it's not developing because we have the idea, it's developing because the people want it. So as the people desire it, more and more of this they'll have access to at every university in the country.
What's your favorite patient example of how the integrative model works?
Yeah. I had an interesting case that I was going to use today, but ran out of time like I always do. But the case was, actually it's a physician. He's an oncologist over at Penn, and he had severe arthritis in both his knees. And I was asking him about it, and he said that, yeah, it runs in my family, and he was on crutches and still working. And he said, I'm taking all these NSAIDs, and he said, I do get temporary relief from them, but the pain is still pretty severe. And I said, do you want to try a little bit different modality? And he said, I'll try anything. And so I said, we want you to get off the aspirin because it's kind of double-edged. It's helping you temporarily with pain, but it's also stopping you from recovering. We put him on curcumin, which is a extract of turmeric, which acts as an anti-inflammatory. We gave it to him in a special micropulverized or very small molecule state so it could be absorbed to the GI tract. Sometimes they add a little black pepper to it to open the pores in the GI tract to increase absorption. And he responded within 3 days. He had an improvement. Within 20 days, he had complete elimination of the pain. We kept him on the curcumin for another month and stopped it. And then I saw him, and 4 months later, he was still fine. So he was very appreciative of that, and it kind of like opened up his eyes to another world. So he started asking questions, which before they would just write it off. They would just say they were lucky, but he was very interested in how he could change. And we see oncologists now that are totally overtaken by the ability of what they could do to enhance the performance of their therapy, chemotherapy in many cases, with the use of adjunctive nutritional care. How we can help the patient with pain, how we can help the patient with elimination of their tumors, and how we can keep the tumors in remission longer. So there's a big vista for different doctors to apply nutritional care within their practices.